All right, guys, welcome back to another video. It's your man, Jay Will. So first things first, I decided to go ahead and use the OnePlus 6 to record this video of the OnePlus 6T. Thought it would be the appropriate thing to do. So this is kind of a 1 week follow-up on a device that I'm going to be 100% honest. It's very easy to recommend over pretty much anything that's out right now, solely because of the price and the performance and the way this is put together. What you're getting is, man, it's almost a complete package for a lot of people, but it's pretty much a complete package for me because I don't require some of the things that someone say it's missing, i.e. wireless charging because of the glass back. And then, but to offset that, it has turbo charging, fast, blazing fast charging, man. It really goes, it charges so fast that the wireless charging is not even an issue for me. And then also it doesn't have an IP rating. That's not a requirement for me, but you know, it would have been nice to have that. I often wonder why they didn't add it. But hey, they didn't add it, so I'm not going to harp on it because it's really not a requirement for me. And let's see, wireless charging and IP rating, and also no headphone jack. Now, the headphone jack thing, it didn't used to be a requirement for me. For this phone gets a pass. This phone gets a pass because of the price. It's a really low price device, and I can live without a headphone jack. I don't want to use the dongle, so I've been using Bluetooth. When I was traveling over the past 4 or 5 days, I used my Jaybird Runs, and the sound is ridiculous with it. Maybe I'll plug in my Sony headphones one day with that dongle, but I just know it's not going to be as good as I want it to be. So with the exclusion of those three things, I don't see anything wrong with this phone, man. Let's check the boxes on the battery. The battery life on this thing is ridiculous, man. Let's see where we're at. So I'm over Wi-Fi right now, but I haven't been doing too much Wi-Fi. So I'm at about a little over 5 hours of screen on time. Charged it 21 hours ago, and I've got 29% left. That's actually really good battery because I know that I'm going to go over 24 hours. And you guys know I don't like to charge in a 24-hour time frame. That's just something, that's a requirement that I have of phones. That is a requirement of phones that I have that I don't slack on. I really don't want to charge over a 24-hour time frame. I just think it's kind of a waste of time to continuously get on the charger. I don't like being on the charger within a 24-hour time frame. So battery life on this thing has been fantastic. I've actually gotten better battery life than that. I've actually gotten up to like 7.5. I think it was about 7.5 hours screen on time. I wasn't really trying to, I wasn't remembering to take screenshots, but the 3,700 milliamp hour battery inside of this thing definitely is fast, and it charges fast, and it lasts a long time. So another thing that makes this phone better than a lot of other phones is it has a large display. And it's not just any display, it's a AMOLED display. Now they're calling it optic display, optic AMOLED, but the point is it's a 6.4 inch display, and it comes in at 1080 by 2340, which is a 19.5 by 9 ratio. For all the techies, that's about 402 pixels per inch, if that means something to you. It is one of the few phones that have Gorilla Glass 6, so that's really good. But the display itself, folks, it's just a great display. I mean, it is just a fantastic display. Watching YouTube on it and things like that, I think you're going to be surprised at how beautiful this thing is. I mean, it is an AMOLED display. And so the display is the first thing that you see when you look at these phones. And this one is absolutely gorgeous, folks. I mean, 1080p aside, I mean, when I first got the phone, most phones that are in a certain price range, I think that you can put in a 1440p screen in there. But they choose not to, and as long as it's an AMOLED display, once again, they get a pass because of the price and the performance package I'm getting here. So display, gorgeous. I just don't have a complaint about it. So another thing that makes this phone special in its own way is they managed to always pack in a bunch of RAM. So this phone has 8 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of onboard storage. Now, this is something that is, you know, I'm not even using a lot. I think I still have over 100 gigs available, as you can see there. Of the 128, I have 101 available. So this is important to me. And I really feel like phones now, the baseline has to start going to 128. Not that 64 is not enough. It's just that there's no reason not to. You know, get out of this trend of companies charging $50 increments just to go up, 64 gigs. They actually start you off at 128 gigs, so there's no excuse as to why you might run out of storage. Now, this doesn't have an SD card, but still, there's other options. The 256 gig only costs just a little over $600, and that's fantastic by today's standards. I mean, that's a killer deal. So 128 for me was a no-brainer as long as I got the 8 gig model. That's not to say the 6 gig model of RAM, it would be slower, but the performance on this thing, it really blazes through. It blazes through things when using it for social media and just your day-to-day tasks, man. It's really good. I mean, I don't have a shout out to Night Tech. I was watching his replay of the OnePlus 6T thoughts, but nonetheless, it's a good performing phone. It really moves down the road, folks. Performance on here, it's running Oxygen 9.0, I believe, right now. And the 6T, right before I recorded this video, you'll see an updated video on that, got 9.0.2. So that if that's important to you, okay, great. Oxygen OS is a clean version running over stock Android, but it's still pretty much stock Android. You just get those small little tweaks that OnePlus does, and I think that's important. So the cameras on here, I shouldn't have to say much about this. I've been posting a lot of footage on the cameras. They record very well, just as well as you see this OnePlus 6 recording. They're the same cameras, and anything that you can do on the OnePlus 6, you can do it on the OnePlus 6T. This OnePlus 6 just got the same update to have the same update functionality as the 6T. And that's why in the other video I posted, you really don't need to buy the 6T if you have the 6, unless you just want to go to the newer design and things like that. So nonetheless, cameras on here, I don't have to say much because they're very solid. I don't know if they're the best set of cameras that I've held, but it's a complete set of cameras, meaning the video recording is fantastic. Photos are just gorgeous on here. They really hold it down. You won't have a problem with that. The telephoto lens really comes in handy. The zoom on here, the optical zoom on here, it is clear on the same level, if not better, than the iPhone XS Max, or the iPhones. All the iPhones, the iPhone 10, they have that telephoto lens that, how the zoom is really, really good. That's how it is for this phone. Like, no ifs, ands, or buts. These cameras on this thing are absolutely great, hands down. So there's not much I can say about that. They're really good. The phone comes with a Snapdragon 845. Techies out there will be excited about that because it's a win-win. I mean, you're really getting something really good for this price point. And the price point is probably one of the most important parts of this phone because you're getting more than you're getting on other phones, but you're paying a lot less. Now, one thing that this phone doesn't have, which I would have liked for it to have, at least that bottom line speaker up here and one down there, stereo setup. This phone does not have a stereo speaker. It has one loudspeaker on the bottom, and that's it. It has one loudspeaker, doesn't have stereo speakers. So that's really good. Now, it's supposed to sound really good. It sounds really good at peak volume, but it's still no stereo speakers. And that's kind of a downside, but I don't know if some people notice these things, but it only has USB 2.0 and Type-C 1.0. I'm looking through things as I close out this video, and it doesn't have, and this is where they can cut corners, but you still get that 20-watt dash charger in there, the 3700 milliamp hour battery. This is really a complete package. You can get one of these for $550. It's a great deal, and you still get 128 gigs of storage. You get 6 gigs of RAM, which is still more than a ton of other phones on the market. Bottom line, folks, I recommend this phone easily over several phones. Over several. There's not a lot. I have my essential phone over here. There's not a lot of phones that offer this type of quality outside of the essential phone. Now, the essential phone area at the top up there, I still prefer it because you're still getting more on the notifications and more on the display. Some people are such a fan of this phone right here that they forget the essential phone how small the essential phone's area is. They're calling this teardrop. That's just a small cutoff of the camera. And I think Essential still did that better. And that's just my personal opinion. Other than that, folks, I mean, there's nothing that I wouldn't, I can recommend this. It's a little bit more narrow in the hand than most phones because it has the 19:9, 19.5:9 ratio. The hardware is premium hardware. I mean, I ordered a D-band skin because I don't like how slippery this is, and I didn't want to cover it up, but I didn't really want the mirror black, to be honest. I wanted more options, but I understand that this is just a test run with the carriers to get them to see if they can move these units. And for what I understand, these units are moving. People are buying the OnePlus straight up and down. They're buying it like crazy because this is a better deal than, let's say, the Galaxy Note, the G7, the V40. This is a better deal, folks. It's a better deal than the Pixel. I can recommend this phone right now as it stands. Yeah, it doesn't have stereo speakers. It doesn't have wireless charging. It doesn't. Some of you guys will get in the comments and talk about that and say what it doesn't have. But in reality, you're going to use the phones all the same. And that's just what it is. This is is it worth spending that extra $400 to $500 to $700 just to get a few things? The short answer is no. You'd be crazy to do that. Most of us throw a case on our phone, put a tempered glass on it. So the IP rating and the drop protection, all that stuff, it only goes so far. This phone has some fast facial recognition and an in-screen fingerprint reader. You know, a lot of phones don't have that. The in-screen fingerprint reader, while it's not as fast as other phones for unlocking, it's still there. And that is where the future of technology is going. So that eliminates some hardware on the phone that frees things up. You know, this phone doesn't have a headphone jack, but again, most people are wireless anyway. So it's easy to recommend this phone right now. And someone asked me, well, Jay, you know, what's your phone of the year? Is it the OnePlus 6T? Is it the Pixel? I mean, right now, as it stands, the Pixel 3 isn't a smarter purchase than the OnePlus 6T or the OnePlus 6. Check those links in the description because you can still grab the OnePlus 6 with the links I got for like under $480 or for like $460 or something like that. Price is going down and down and down. And I recommend the OnePlus 6 over the OnePlus 6T because you get the headphone jack. You get a physical fingerprint reader. And it's the same phone, same cameras, and it's going to get all the updates just the same. So this is an easy one for me, folks. The 6T and the 6 have turned out to be two of the best options I've ever done. And right now, at just a weekend with this phone, man, this is a killer. This phone is still killing other flagships. So you have to get your hands on it, folks. You have to get your hands on it and use it, and then you would understand. You know, you'll hear people saying, well, it doesn't have an S Pen, it doesn't have this. That's all fine and dandy, but they don't have the phone. They don't have the phone, so they're judging based on the surface. And ultimately, you're willing to pay $500 to $800 more just for a few extra things that you seldom use. I don't know. Call me crazy, but the OnePlus 6T is a win-win, folks. No brainer. It's your man Jay. Stay tuned for more coverage on other devices on the channel. I've got lots of things coming, so I'll see you in the next video. Take care.